Hi, I'm Dr. Karthik Nagendra. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of DemandFarm, a leader in digital key account management solutions. Welcome to our podcast, The Shift. It is a thought leadership podcast which focuses on bringing together sales and marketing leaders from across the world to share their perspectives around the future of key account management. In today's rapidly evolving business landscape, the role of key account management has become increasingly vital for organizations to drive growth and maintain strong customer relations. As we enter the digital age, the way companies manage their key accounts is undergoing a significant transformation. So, what are some of these emerging trends, technologies, and strategies that are shaping the future of digital key account management? How can organizations leverage digital tools, analytics, automation to enhance customer engagement, personalize experience, and unlock new opportunities for revenue generation? So we need an expert to share those insights with us. And that expert with us today is Peter Hanford. He's the Group Director of Revenue and Growth at Ebiquity. So let's dive in to understand what insights he's got to share with us.
So Peter, thanks a lot for giving us your time and having this conversation with us today.
No problem. My pleasure.
Yeah. So Peter, my first question would be, how can organizations create a digital first mindset for the sales organization itself?
Sure. So the way we approach this is very much to create a digital first mindset. Actually, for us, it starts with data, and we're kind of putting data at the heart of everything we do. And that therefore means that everything we do has to become digital. So the data is what drives it initially. So that starts with, the target universe, who is our target market, and being super focused on the specifics around that and having data-driven intelligence on our target market that we want to drive revenue and growth from. And we'll use various different data points that are all driven from digital platforms. Some of those are in-house, some of those are third-party, but that allows us to really be very super clear on who our target market is, where the opportunity is by market, and what we then do is we mix data sets to identify and prioritize where the growth is going to come from. And again, that's using either in-house tools or, our CRM becomes pretty critical in that. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, but that's a journey we go on as well from a CRM point of view. We then and it's for us, it's more about the data first and the tools second, because things like client segmentation have been critical to identify and prioritize growth opportunity and prioritization of resource. And how what we dedicate into that, and that's all based off of data. And what we do is we merge data sets to help inform that, and we then create digital first enablers. So, for example, one of the things we created is a platform-driven client segmentation tool that we built in-house that merges various data sets. And standardizes our client segments for every market that we operate in, and allows our sales teams in those markets to segment their clients in a click of a button. Literally takes a couple of minutes, and they can segment their entire client base. And that brings this, digital first approach to then have almost a rules-based approach as to what actions they should then take based off of that data. So that digital first mindset for us all starts with data. That then feeds into tools, and that's a bit of a journey for us as a business. But things like CRM, LinkedIn plays an increasing role in our world. key account management is becoming quite critical as well.
So thanks, Pete, for setting that context on how organizations can get a digital first mindset. So you spoke a lot about how data first is what you look at, and then the tools. So how can organizations actually enable their teams with data-driven planning?
Yeah. So I talked quite a bit about that. Yeah, for us, the data is at the heart of everything we're trying to do, and that's about driving, scalable, repeatable, accelerated growth. That's why we put data at the heart of everything we do, and I think that's pretty critical in data-driven planning. That you're using that data to really fine-tune how you're going to accelerate growth. For us, when I think about enablement, it's about making it easy for our sales teams. If you're in sales, you want to sell. You don't want to spend ages, trying to manipulate data in your plans. You just want insight at your fingertips. So that's about making it easy. And so our approach, the approach I've always kind of taken is build the tools and use technology and automation to do that, data-driven planning for your sales team. So they literally, and I just talked about client segmentation. Yeah. We click a few buttons and the segmentation's done for you, and that's because we've merged various data sets. We use robotic process automation to map, normalize, extracting data, loading it in and putting it into a system that allows us to spit out an answer for our sales team without them having to touch any of the data themselves. We built in layers that allows the salesperson to input almost that intelligence that sits in here that can't sit in a data set, but that human intelligence, the pulse of the market, being able to bring that in. So you're also it enables the team whereby they feel they've co-created the answer that spits out. So it's not just reliant on a static data set. You're allowing the sales force to input into that so that they feel they've contributed and it has their intelligence built into it. And I think that co-creation or feeling of co-creation is quite important to drive the motivation and the belief in the accuracy of the output in those plans. So, as long as a sales team can input into it in that way, then the adoption of the plan becomes much higher because they feel like they've inputted into it and it's relevant. For us, enabling teams with data-driven planning is all about making it easy for them, using automation where you can, using technology to do that heavy lifting so that actually your sellers can focus on what they're good at, which is selling, they therefore can start to pick up this sort of digital first mindset.
That's so true. You touched upon the aspect of adoption, right? So when you have something where you have a digital first mindset, you need to use data for planning. So there's involves a lot of change management that needs to be done. So what do you think is the role of the leadership in driving this change management and adoption of such new processes, technologies within the organization?
For me, driving effective change management, I think we can get very bogged down with, tools, features, functionality. And we need to always bring it back to the benefit to the user, to the sales force, right? And this is, in our organization, this is definitely a journey and quite an interesting one of coming from a place where even tools like CRM were seen as admin. It's just admin that I've got to do. And the effective change management comes with leadership having a vision Like, this is the North Star, this is the vision, but that is critically linked not to the benefit overall of the business. Yes, it has to drive benefit for the business, but focus it on the benefit for the user, the salesperson. And critically having that vision always coming back to the user, and how it benefits them. And so rather than, that technology or that process being admin, it becomes an enabler that allows me to sell in a more efficient way, in a more effective way. I can close faster, I can prospect easier, whatever it might be, whatever aspect of selling you're doing, you can do that in an easier, more efficient, more effective, and more scaled way than you could in the past. And so but for me, that's the critical heart of the change management piece, is always bringing it back and almost like selling that vision into the individuals so that they're bought in. So for me, that's the first critical point. And then also as well, something that we've had quite good success with in change management is like co-creation. Make your sales team a part of that vision and a part of the design of whatever the process or technology is that you're putting in place. And by making them a part of it, they go on the journey to see how it's going to benefit them and how it's going to benefit their peers. And then you can start to use your sales team actually as a way of helping to drive change management, because you get people to evangelize, end users to evangelize that new process or that new technology. So that co-creation piece therefore becomes quite critical. So from a leader perspective, something that I've done is identify who are the critical people in the sales team that can help co-create, that are going to come up with ideas and solutions that are then also going to help evangelize that and are going to really take that in a positive, proactive manner with energy to their peers to help drive the change. And then the final point is having your eyes open to risk. What are the challenges we might face? What is the impact of those things? How do we mitigate those in advance? And just doing some risk planning around that change management before you try and roll something out, so that we can take a step-by-step approach. And because adoption will fail if you launch something big bang and something critical goes wrong, that's it, you've killed it. So trying to identify and mitigate those risks up front as early as possible is the final piece for me in terms of effective change management.
So that was a very important point that you spoke about. One is making people part of the vision. And second, also, not doing something big bang, but take it in a more modular and system, step-by-step phases so that you taste success. I think those were very... My next question, Pete, is in 2023, we are living in a highly ultra-dynamic world with, the recession and, a lot of uncertainties out there. And where, you cannot plan things for a very long period of time. So sales and account plan strategies can't be static anymore, but they need to be a lot more dynamic. So what does this mean for you as a leader and your team in terms of planning of modular and scalable systems that are constantly adapting to the market situations?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting area that we're going through at the moment, and working with DemandFarm to help enable this. We're coming from a place where key account planning has not been done in the most strategic, standardized way across the business, and it's been done, in PowerPoint files and Excel files, and a little bit of a one and done. So somebody asks you to do an account plan at the beginning of the year to achieve the budget. So that's what you did. You did it once, you presented it, you stuck it in a folder, and nobody ever looked at it ever again. And that just doesn't work. You don't drive growth with that approach. As to your point, right? It's a dynamic world. things are constantly changing, and that's what we see with our clients, right? It's a constant evolution and dynamic that we've got to be on top of. So the heart for at the heart of accelerating our growth is actually having an account planning process which allows it to be dynamic through the year. So rather than us doing an account plan and never looking at it again, it needs to become a living and breathing thing. So working with DemandFarm, we're able to build that into our CRM to have a live and dynamic account plan that also takes into account everything that's going on that client's business. So how they're interacting with their marketing activity, what events they're coming to, what white papers they're downloading, how they have reacted to certain sales conversations, and really bringing those key account plans to life based on data. And as I said at the top of our conversation, that's where we start. Data is critical to everything that we do. And actually our sales team have always used the insight, but not in a structured, standardized way, that digital first mindset can really enable. We can have all of that data, we can use technology so that the information is at our fingertips, and we can use that to make decisions that are agile and dynamic, that help solve business problems for our clients and ultimately drives growth for us. So maybe that's a slightly long-winded way of saying that it's, for us in this world, it's critical to move away from something static like a PowerPoint or an Excel template and move that into technology-driven, that everybody can see, everybody can access. It's integrating the data. And then for us, the process is really important. We do QBRs now, collective QBRs, to see, okay, well, that was the plan. How have we progressed this quarter? And we do this as a collective team. So what's the progress this quarter? What were the issues? How do we overcome those issues? What were the wins? What are the issues we see ahead? And we co-create solutions to problems. And that helps us unlock strategies and opportunities, all coming back to driving growth for us as a business.
Very interesting.
And that's so much easier with a platform and the data rather than, a static document. It becomes an enabler that makes the salesperson's life easy because the data is fed in and the work is done for them.
So that's so true. So it should be viewed as something which is an enabler and not so much of, an admin work or a roadblock for the sales personnel, right? So my last question, Pete, would be, there are a lot of organizations who are still contemplating whether they need to move the digital route or, continue the way they're doing it. But digital transformation is inevitable from that perspective. So from your experience, what are some tips that you would like to share with people who are still thinking on how to start their digital transformation journey with respect to account management?
So I said it before, but it's critical, right? In digital transformation, data is pretty key. And so that is having data that is organized, structured, clean, with any digital platform, whether it's for key account management or anything else. If you put garbage in, you get garbage out. So having a clean and accurate data is critical. We're actually using digital account planning as a way to force clean data, because your account planning system essentially doesn't work without the clean data. And so we put it on the end user, that it's their role to maintain their data and keep it clean. And if they don't, their account planning process doesn't work and it falls down, and it's on them to solve it. So it's a bit chicken and egg in that sense, but for me that's quite critical, is having clean data. And then, as I said earlier, that kind of vision of what it is you're trying to achieve. And what actually our approach was to build our key account planning process first. We built the process for our business based on the cadence of our clients, of us, our budget cycles, our clients' finance cycles. So we, looking at our sales processes and we then mirrored the key account planning process to our business first, and we became very clear on therefore what are the inputs for any digital driven account planning, and then we looked for what are the tools and technologies that are out there that can help us based on our process and what we need to achieve for our business. And that was quite critical, I think, because again, unless it's following the heartbeat of your way of working, your adoption's never going to land. So yeah, that was a quite important piece to make it succeed for us. I think my final thought, it's not so much about digital transformation, but success of account planning as a whole and key account planning. And I see it a lot in businesses whereby the account plan says I need to achieve X revenue, or I want to sell this thing, or it's focused on the internal goal of the organization. And actually really successful key account planning and key account management is when the goal is the client's goal, and it's identifying what the client problem is, and therefore your goal is how you're going to solve that client problem. Certainly, and I'm talking from a B2B sales perspective here, but how you're going to solve that client problem and putting the client problem in your account plan. That's your objective, is to solve their problem. It's not about our revenue, it's about their problem. And then you bring that back down to what are the solutions we have to solve that problem for them. So you flip the account plan to be focused on the client that's buying the services and not the business itself. And I've seen I won't name the names, some very large digital organizations that have been hugely successful by taking that approach. And you almost create these joint business plans where you sit down with your client, you understand what their pain points are and their problems, and you agree the account plan together. And you have your client signing it off, and then it's actually just about progressing that in a dynamic way. And that's where the digital platforms can really help to enable that along the way.
So I think you summed it up really nice, where you said it's not about the internal one, but seeing how are you solving the customer problem and co-creating the plans together. And
exactly.
Data becomes a very crucial part in that, and getting the buy-in of the teams which are going to use it as part of the overall leadership vision is the key for it. So thanks, Peter, once again. Loved our conversation and loved the insights that you shared.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Karthik. And wish you all the best.
For more such insights, best practices, and thought leadership content, visit our website, www.demandfarm.com, or follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter @DemandFarm.